Hello everyone, welcome to Fulor Kong Mati. The World Cup is over and the summer is almost over as well. But before the summer's over, I want to get this video out about my volunteer experience. The pros, the cons, everything about it is going to be here right in this video. So subscribe, like, and stay tuned. Let's get into it. Number one, I want to definitely say that I'm grateful for whatever, each volunteer went through. I'm sure everyone's grateful for what we experienced. I personally am very much grateful for the opportunity to even be part of this big tournament that was the World Cup 2026. Obviously, I would have loved to be inside the stadium. I was outside the stadium. I was actually very far from the stadium. I was in downtown New York City. I helped with transportation. And look, I have no issue with that. I still felt that World Cup vibe, that World Cup atmosphere, and I'm very grateful for that. Grateful for the uniforms, the opportunity in itself, the little prizes that we got. Very, very grateful for that, and I have no issue with how FIFA treated us with those kind gestures. Now, moving on to something that I really want to talk about is how a volunteer, in my case, receives the recognition that we got. Now, look, out of a lot of people that were out there, there were very few people that come from the state of Connecticut, in which where I am from. Mind you, so if my shift is down in New York City, which it was 8 times, I went to like 6 out of the 8, only because I went one game to the Ecuador-Germany, and then the last game of the final, I was not there as well. So I showed up to shifts. I had to catch a train almost 45 minutes from my house, grab onto that train. That train had dropped me off to New York, but then I had to take a subway to Penn Station. So ultimately, it was a 2-hour and 30-minute train ride. Plus, you walk a lot, you're standing, you only have like a 45-minute break. You don't really have a lot of time to just sit down. You're always standing up. But again, I had no issue with that. Paying for our food, paying for our lunch, no issue with that. They gave us an Omni gift card, so you were able to, use that card for whenever you had to take subways in order to get where you needed to get. But when you come from Connecticut, which is 2 hours and a little bit more away, it's a long trip down to where we had to be. And I did not really meet anyone who was from CT, only less than a handful. But everyone else was either from New Jersey, which is they still have to find transportation to New York City, Penn Station specific area. And also, obviously, you had some residents from New York as well. But again, I'm grateful for everything that FIFA was able to give us, and I have no issue with that. But what I am here to say is the truth. One, I don't regret anything. Was it worth it? Of course, I think it was definitely worth it. I have no issues with it. Some would say it's not because of the following. Number one, the prizes we receive are very well, kind little gestures. You wouldn't expect, like, if you were to see the prizes, it's not like you go, wow, and you're amazed. But you are grateful for them. And that's what I am. But the biggest concern that I had was the overall recognition for the New Jersey volunteer group. For the New York, New Jersey volunteers, no matter if you were inside the stadium, wherever you were in New York, New Jersey, your recognition was a Staten Island baseball game. Look, I don't know anything about baseball. Maybe a little bit about the MLB. Whatever Staten Island's league in or whatever the hell however it works, I don't know anything about that. So for FIFA or the FIFA volunteer coordination group, whoever it was that planned this, that it's a concern. On my end, it's a concern. I believe that, if I'm being brutally honest, I think even talking to people who were inside the stadium as a volunteer, whether it was a ceremony or whatever else it was, they were forced to leave the stadium as soon as their volunteer shift was done. So as soon as they walked out as a ceremony volunteer, soon as they came back in, they had to leave the stadium. They could not stay in the stadium watching at all. And that amazed me, because I don't know if that had to do with just New York, New Jersey, because I saw Houston, I saw Atlanta, I saw Seattle, I saw a lot of different host cities have their volunteers right behind the net at the stadium, watching the game, the entire game, matter of fact, and being able to be there present in the moment. It definitely raised my eyebrows a lot. I'm not attacking no one with how I come out with my opinion, but you do got to question the fairness, the injustice, and the poor treatment of the volunteers who really sacrificed a lot of their time to be part of this tournament and get recognition at a Staten Island baseball game, especially for I would say, the biggest volunteer group of the entire World Cup was New York, New Jersey. And that's a fact. Another clear fact is that the final was hosted in our host city in New York, New Jersey. And the fact that they weren't able to even find a way to really give us recognition that with something that had to do with the World Cup, that's got me absolutely fried. I don't understand how you recognize us at a baseball game when we're talking about the World Cup and you recognize us with a baseball game. You had the opportunity to do something out of the 8 games that were played in New York, New Jersey. You had the opportunity to do something for the volunteers, and you did the total opposite. I would say I would have rather had nothing rather than having a Staten Island baseball game. And that's no dig to whoever's on that part of the baseball world. But when it comes to the World Cup, you're up here. And when you talk about a Staten Island baseball game for a little bit of a reward, you're touching the floor. Ultimately, if I was a volunteer board member, whatever it's called, that organizes all this, I would have had such a better idea. I think personally FIFA is so worried about the money and are very cheap about everything, because I'll even say this. I went to the game Argentina-Spain, but only from the outside of the stadium. I was right outside the stadium. You couldn't even hear the goal Spain scored, nor could you hear the halftime show, nor could you hear the opening ceremony or the closing ceremony, if you would say. I know for a fact FIFA had some sort of soundproof speakers that they didn't go as far as right outside the stadium. Mind you, the stadium is right in front of me. Like, the only thing stopping me from the wall of the stadium is a gate. And I couldn't hear nor the halftime show, nor the closing ceremony, or the celebration of the Spaniards when Ferran Torres scored the goal. Why not have the entire host cities of the World Cup, right, where all the volunteers are at, whether it's Mexico City, Seattle, Atlanta, New York, New Jersey, Toronto, whatever, for the final game in their host city. So the last game that's going to be played in New York, New Jersey, for example, which was the final, why not at least give the volunteers the recognition there? Like, at least have us walk out, whether it's in the halftime or whether it's at the end or whether it's at the start. Have us walk out on the field as a volunteer group with the projector, with the screens and everything, saying thank you, volunteers. That's it. That's all you had to do, and it'll take no more than 5 minutes. You could, or if you really cared, you could even do each volunteer group that's in New York, New Jersey. You could have which was Midtown, the Midtown group, and then you had the ceremony group, and you would call it out on the screen, and you had someone on the microphone saying, here comes blah 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 group, here comes blah 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 group. And the fans can see that the volunteers are getting recognition. But when everything's going behind the scenes and you don't really see people talking about what really went down as a volunteer at the World Cup, that frustrates me, because everyone thinks it's sunshine and rainbows, but in reality, the amount of sacrifice I had to give for just volunteering was a lot. And what I received as recognition was very, very, very short of my expectations. It only takes a bit of thinking and a bit of organization to really care about how you want to recognize your volunteers. That's all I was saying. Like, even at halftime, again, the halftime show, it was horrible. I mean, you couldn't even really hear outside the stadium. Even watching it, everything just seemed unorganized. I think you would have much rather have just one artist the entire time and have the volunteers walk out either at the start of the halftime or at the end of the halftime or at the before the World Cup final starts at the end. However, but just recognize them for 5 minutes. Have all the volunteers walk out together if you wanted to. That's it. And then while we're there, make it better. Have us watch at least one game as a volunteer. One game we could have just watched. One game we could have just watched as a volunteer group. How I saw Atlanta, how I saw Seattle, how I saw many other host cities able to do that. Maybe they didn't have all of them, but when you see on TV as a volunteer, I saw other volunteers on TV behind the net in the World Cup game. That's obviously going to be like, what's going on over there that's not happening over here? So that's my take. And ultimately, yeah, I mean, I don't regret it at all. It was definitely worth it, but I am disappointed in how FIFA organized everything for volunteers, and specifically New York, New Jersey, because I don't know what happened in the other host cities. But as a New York, New Jersey volunteer, I can definitely say I expected more of a recognition than what we received. Not once did I see even the president of FIFA went to other host city volunteers and, met them or whatever it was that he did. Not one time did we get anyone down in New York, New Jersey. The only person that I received actual recognition from, even though I didn't even shake his hand or he didn't even look at me, was the mayor of New York. He at least came and helped us out a little bit. But other than that, there was absolutely nothing from FIFA that made me say, wow, they genuinely care. I don't think they did at all. I think it's a very cheap mindset that they have. And the fact that as a volunteer, I was not able to experience the proper recognition I think I definitely deserved, as well as everyone else who was a volunteer in New York, New Jersey. I think we all deserved way more than what we got and to the people who went to that Staten Island game, hey, props to them, because I was not going to do that. Again, I live 2 hours from there, maybe even a bit more because it's in Staten Island. I was not going to fly down on go down on a train, to Staten Island and come back. No, for a baseball game that was, again, I saw all the videos of it. There was not, the whole stadium was just volunteers, and it wasn't full. Like, it wasn't even a lot of volunteers. Not a lot of volunteers showed up to that, and I was not gonna do that. I think that's almost like a disrespectful gesture if I went over there, because it was just like, what, like, I don't understand. But look, ultimately, I'm grateful for the opportunity. That's the most important thing that I'm taking away from this. I'm happy and I don't regret anything. I'm not here to complain, but I am here to say what's wrong and say what's right. And what's right was gifting us the opportunity to not have to pay for our lunch, this, that, the other. But even then, when you still sacrifice so much of your time to stuff, and that's something that they didn't recognize. The time I and everyone else put into going down to where we had to be on time, always there, present, showing up, being vocal, communicating. The recognition we got was nothing that I expected to receive. So, yeah, ultimately disappointed with that. And I think there's a lot of things that weren't fair. I mean, not even letting the ceremony volunteers at least stay in the stadium. But as soon as they're done carrying out the flags, they have to go home. I find that very disrespectful, and I find that very, very corrupt as well. So, listen, that's my takes on being a volunteer. I hope people tune into this so that they can really see how it was. Again, I don't regret it, because if you really have the passion and the love for it, you'll really enjoy it. And I did. I always did. And then, but once I heard about that recognition of a Staten Island baseball game, it was ultimately like, all right. That's something that's out of proportion. That should never be what you give a FIFA World Cup volunteer as part of their prize. If it's a FIFA World Cup, related to the World Cup, at least. But anyways, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit.